Well, hello, my honor students. I know I said Friday and it's Saturday morning. Oh, I only have 5 donuts instead of 6 for punishment. Now, we're going to do 2 more laws today. Now, these 2 will not be on Tuesday's test. So, the next law is, what do you do when you have something to the 0 power? Well, okay, we could look at it 2 ways. If I have x squared divided by x squared, you would say, oh, Mr. Murphy, anything divided by itself is 1. But I could also use the division rule that says when you're dividing 2 things same base, you subtract the powers. So this would be x to the 2 minus 2, which is x to the 0. And since these are both legitimate statements, anything to the 0 power must be 1. So if I have 2,348 to the 0 times 57, you'd say, oh, I need a calculator. But no, you don't, because anything to the 0 power is 1. So it'd be 1 times 57, which is 57. Or this one really gets them on a test. I'll put 2x to the 0, or 2x, and x is to the 0. Well, a lot of people will put an answer of x, but no, anything to the 0 power is the number 1, not x. So if I have x to the 0, that's 1 times 2 is 2. The next laws of exponents I want to go over is, what do you do when you have a negative power? Now, some books will break this up into 2 laws, but I just see it as 1. You just raise them both to the negative. So, again, if I have x to the 3rd over x to the 4th, you would say, oh, that's 3 of these cancel 3 of these, so it's 1 over x. But really, technically, I could say x to the 3 minus 4, keep it on top, and that'd be x to the negative 1. Well, once again, this and this have to be the same. Well, what's changed about the x? Well, now this is on the bottom. So a negative power is just a reminder to move it. It's like the famous song, I like to move it, move it. We like to move it, move it. So all you have to do is move the x to the other place. So if it's in the top, move it on down. If it's in the bottom and it has a negative power, move it on up. Now, once you've done the movement, you've done the reminder, so the negative is now gone. It's like back in the early 1900s, old people would tie yarns to their fingers to remember something. Oh, I'm going to the store, don't forget tomatoes. So they would tie red string to their finger. Then, once they bought the tomatoes, they would take the string off. That's what this is. It's a little reminder. It means at some point, I need to move it. So if the problem is x to the negative 6, you would say, oh, just move it. So if I have x to the negative 7 times x to the 4th, a couple ways you could do this. You could start off by moving this because a negative means at some point move it. Then simplify. You divide 2 things same base, you subtract. Or I could have used the multiplication rule. When you multiply 2 things same base, you add. That'd be x to the negative 3, but a negative part means move it on down. Now there's a rule that when you're simplifying, you can't have a negative in the exponent except for scientific notation. Now, I've decided not to do scientific notation in the video this week and just focus on the negative and the 0. So that's one less video you'll be seeing. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's what I've decided. So let's try another one. Let's have x to the negative 6, y to the 8th, over x to the negative 10. We'll also do y to 6. So, this negative means I got to move it at some time. So I'm going to move it on down. This is not negative, so I'm going to leave it alone. This is not negative, so I'm going to leave it alone. And this is negative, so I'm going to move it on up. Now, when you divide two things same base, you subtract, so that'd be x to the fourth. And this is just dividing. When you divide two things same base, you subtract the powers. So that would be y squared. 8 of them canceled out by 6 of them. Woo-hoo! So let's look at another one. Let's say I have, x to the negative 6 over x to the fourth, all raised to the negative 10th. Now, there's different ways to do this problem. A lot of these can be started a different way. So I can either simplify inside first and then raise it, or I can raise it first and then simplify. I'm going to raise it first. So this would be x to the 60th, because when you raise to a power, raised power, you multiply, base raised power, raised power. This one, base raised power, raised another power, you multiply, so it'd be x to the negative 40. But I got a negative power, so I got to move it on up. So it'd be x is 60 times x to the 40th, which is x to the 100. So I have some problems I want you to try here. Try those three at the top. Just do those three and then turn me back on. Okay, so I like to move it. We like to move it. So negative power, bring it on down. Negative power, bring it on up. Not negative, leave it alone. Negative power, bring it on up. Now simplify. Dividing two things, same base. Subtract the power, 6 minus 3. Oh, they're multiplying now that it's on top. So when you're multiplying two things, same base, you add. Here, we have a product to a power, so you raise both to that power. When you base to a power to another power, you multiply, so that'd be 6. Y to the negative 16. But I can't have an answer with a negative in the power, so I'm going to move it on down. This one, I got a base raised to a power, raise the whole thing to another power, so I multiply. That's x to the negative 12, so it'd be 1 over x to the 12. Wee-hee. Now do these three and then turn me off. Okay. The 2 doesn't have a negative, so you don't move it, so it's 2 over x. This 2 does have a negative with it. It's a product, so you raise both to the negative 2. 2 squared is 4. Negative power, flip it. X squared, flip it. And of course, you got to put a little 1 there. Can't have it blank. This one, 2 to the 4th. Let's see. That would be 16 times 4 squared is 16. But flip it. So, anything divided by itself is 1. You don't even need to turn this one off. Hopefully, you know what? Anything to 0 power is 1. 1 times x to the 4th is x to the 4th. Now, this is not on Tuesday's test. Negative exponents. But we do have a little homework for you. Now, these problems, 41 to 46, are pretty tricky. So just do the best you can. Oh, I just smeared the thing. Oh, my goodness. So anyways, the screen is smeared is what I'm talking about. But, okay, we'll go with it. So try those problems for Monday. And I plan to make a review video tonight or tomorrow morning. We'll see how it goes. Have another day and a half nice off.